Hi, everyone, and welcome to another powerful conversation with another powerful woman. I'm delighted to be joined today by Diane. So, welcome, Diane. Thank you for joining me. As usual, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because nobody knows you better than you do. So, if you'd like to just tell us who you are, what you do, etc., that would be lovely.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've been listening to some of your powerful conversations and it has been quite fascinating, I have to say. It makes me wonder whether I've got enough to say today, but I'm sure we'll get it.
Yeah.
So I'm Diane Faben. I'm the founder of Mentors for Women. I've worked in IT for 40 years, so a big career in IT, starting off in development and ending up in the service management arena, managing major contracts, usually in the government area. And I loved it. I loved my career. I loved everything about it. I've also done quite a bit of personal development work on myself, particularly with an organisation that used to run, or still does run, something called The Mastery, which was designed for actors, but has been actually used across all sorts of areas in recent years, you know, including, I think, at once British Airways and so on and so forth. So, you know, it's quite a wide variety of areas. And I did a lot of work with them. The Mastery, I also did something called Samurai, and I did a one-year leadership course with them, which was very enlightening. Changed my life, really. So it made a big difference to me. I was actually doing a back row to a Mastery where you go and support other people who are doing Mastery a few years ago. And the front row was made up mainly of women. Mm-hmm. And there was just a recurring theme the whole way through of how do I get people to take me seriously? Why am I being treated like this? Why is this happening to me? What can I do to get support? Where can I go? Who can help me? You know, the whole weekend. And actually, Mentors for Women was born that weekend in terms of what we really need is we need a place where women can go to find a mentor, because it's really hard within our own organisations. I certainly was never able to do it. And even though we rolled out a mentoring solution within the organisation I work with, it didn't work. So I didn't do anything about it, I have to say then, because I was still working full time. So I had to wait until I retired. And I've been working on it since. You know, there's been a difficult time for us all, hasn't it? We've had COVID, we've had that. So it's taken a lot longer than I imagined it ever would. But it's all there now, and we've got some amazing mentors there. And now we've really just got to push out and start, you know, getting women to take advantage of that service, which is really, I want to just make a change to women's lives. I'm really, really keen. And, you know, some of the things that have happened to me in my life when I just haven't been able to get any resolution or have any support. And the other thing that I find is that women don't support women very well in their own organisations either. You know, I was on a course once and I actually got the top prize on the course that they only ever give if somebody reaches the mark, which was for customer interaction. And there was a woman who was quite senior in the organisation giving out the prizes. Now, you'd think, wouldn't you? If it was me, I'd be thinking, well, I need to make sure this woman gets in a place where she can use these skills. Nothing, you know. So I just find it really sad. So I think we need to help women to, you know, make the best of their lives and achieve their goals and so on and so forth. And I come from an era, because I'm quite old,
only as old as you feel.
Some days I feel quite old. But I come from an era where women didn't really expect to have a career. You know, I left school at 16 with 2 O-levels. I hadn't done any work, and there's a whole story about why that happened, but that's another story. My dad applied for a job for me at the Midland Bank Executor and Trustee Company, and I went along and had the interview and I got the job. I met my first husband there. I've had 2. Just okay. And I had to change jobs when we got married because we weren't allowed to work in the same organisation. And everybody just got married, and then 2 years later they had children, and then they stopped work. so I never imagined I would have a career.
Yeah.
I, of course, didn't have children. We didn't have children. I don't really know why we didn't, but we didn't.
Yeah.
And after 9 years, we separated. So then I was single for a very, very long time after that. So became very independent, had to build my own life, started to find my feet, doing education in night school and day school, day release and all that sort of thing. O&C, Business Studies Agency. I got quite a long way through certified accountancy and changed my career at some point to work in IT through a training course. So so became very independent, and I would never have imagined that little 16-year-old girl was going to be earning, 6 figures and running the stuff that I was running and responsible for the things that I was responsible for. That would have terrified me if I thought for 1 minute that's where I was going to end up. But, I have had an amazing career and I'm very proud of everything I've achieved. So that's a bit about me.
Well, I mean, there's so much that we can potentially unpack in all of that. I think the sort of overriding thing for me is that, I mean, I am younger than you, but even at my age, that whole journey is difficult, and it's there are still prejudices in the workplace and expectations of women. And if I wind back the clock even further and think about all of that adversity that you've had to overcome to be a successful, powerful woman, it's like, I mean, I'm like in awe of how you were able to do it off the back of 2 O levels. It's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But it just goes to show you that if you want to do something, anything is possible.
Absolutely. And that's what I would say to every woman out there. Whatever you want to do is possible. Don't be afraid. Trust in yourself as well. All of these things. And these are things, of course, I've learned through the years, because I have this little view of myself, which I share with people, about being the little girl who sits at the back of the class, who's very shy. My surname was Windle, so I was always at the back of the class because the W's were always So, but I was very shy, and I still am very shy, believe it or not. But I know that people see me in a completely different way. So when we're doing mastery and we do there's a lot of feedback in mastery, and at the end of it, if you're in a support role, you get feedback too. And the most amazing feedback I had one day was, I'm only there floating in the background. I'm doing some demonstration of exercises and stuff like that. It's a very powerful weekend. And I got this feedback that said, when I grow up, I want to be you.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And one of the things I've learned in life is that it's really important to let that feedback land, because it's so easy, to brush these things off and say, oh, well, they didn't really mean it, or that's a nice dress you've got on. Oh, yeah, but I've had it 20 years. That sort of thing. But let it land, whatever it is, and take it in and absorb it, because that's what people see you as. That's who they see. And so it is really, really important to try and do that. There's lots of things that, we don't do very well as women, or we need to support each other to do them better.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's interesting, because I think there's definitely sort of the way that we're brought up, we kind of learn to dismiss what somebody says and say, oh yeah, like you said about, oh, you look lovely in your dress, and they say, oh well, yeah, I only got it from this shop in a sale and blah blah blah. But I've noticed that my eldest daughter, if I give her a compliment or somebody gives her a compliment, she just says thank you and stops. And I was like, wow, where did you learn to do that? Because it's taken me a long time to that instinct to say thank you and stop is really, really hard to learn. Like, where did she learn to do that? But it's like really enlightening that you can just take on a piece of feedback for what it is without undermining yourself in the process.
Because it's what people see, and we don't see what people see. We see what's in here, We see what we believe about ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
I know I'm a powerful woman, and I know when I'm in my power, I can make the world change around me, you know. I'm very proud of the way I brought my boys up, and I'll talk a bit about this in a bit, but you know, they're both incredibly, you know, loving, diligent, caring, thoughtful. They cook, they iron their shirts.
Amazing.
They give me the love back that I've given them. You know, they're trying to look after me a bit more now. You know, are you all right? You sure? You need some help?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be able to carry on getting up those stairs in a few years? All that sort of shit.
Yeah.
But no, it's. I'm very proud of that, and you know, and I hope I've taught them, you know, to take stuff on board in the right way and whatever. I think I've done okay. My daughter-in-law said to me the other day, she said, you know, you have amazing boys. You have amazing boys. So
and there's no bigger compliment, really, is there, for somebody to say nice things about your children to your face is a huge compliment. So of all of your accomplishments, which one are you the most proud of?
I worked on a large government contract for 5 years, well, for longer than 5 years, but for 5 years of it, I worked on a particular area, and it was half of the contract. It was quite a big piece, and we had to. They were rolling out a new system across the whole of the UK. It wasn't well met. It wasn't well written. We haven't written it, I have to say. So you know, so I kind of came into a situation where it was in 3 different sites, and it was falling over every day, and so on and so forth. And I took hold of it and started analysing data and started telling them what they needed to do, you know, whatever. And, you know, started going to weekly programme reviews. And the guy who was running the programme said, nobody's ever done this before. This is amazing, you know. So, you know, informing people with what they needed to do. But then I had to go out and meet all the management teams across the country. And that was hard because it was a mess. And, you know, it's very hard to persuade people that it will be all right. And it's very hard to persuade people that you know what you're doing when they've lived with lots of messes over the years and so on and so forth. At the very first one of those meetings I went to, somebody said to me, well, it's really refreshing to have somebody come and talk to us and tell us the truth. Thank you. And, you know, and I took a lot of flack. You know, people told me I'd done this wrong and I'd done that wrong and we shouldn't be doing this and we should be doing that. But I took it all on board and I reported back and we, you know, we made it work. And after 5 years, when I left, we were doing another round the country thing. And the feedback I was getting was, you know, it's amazing. It's cut down all this admin. We've been able to do it with less staff. We can now do this. We can see the future. We can do this. We can do that. We never imagined we'd be able to do these things, you know. And I had a team across the UK, different places, and, you know, trying to, from different areas, because we tutored people in and all sorts of things. And it was, you know, I'm very, very proud of what I achieved in that 5 years on that client account. And I achieved it against the backdrop towards the end of sexism, ageism, I'd say racism, but I'm Icelandic, so I can probably say that. Bullying, systematic bullying, you know, glass ceiling. I wasn't allowed to be called the assistant director, the deputy director, but the guy who was before me was, and he was younger and not good, you know, all of that sort of thing. And I achieved it against all of that. I just was able to power through. And I, you know, I am really, really proud of that piece of work. Because it was really significant. You know, your government contracts are really hard to work in, and just, you know, if you've done it, you just know how difficult it is. So that's probably one of my proudest accomplishments.
Yeah.
But there's another one.
Oh, go on. Yeah, go on.
There's another one that's slightly different but more personal. And you know, that's really a project about change, because you're changing everything that they're doing and the way they're doing it and everything else. But I also had to go through a major piece of change, personal change in my life, because my sister died in 2008, and she had an 11-year-old son, and she was in New Zealand, and she'd separated from her husband, who was in New Zealand as well, and she wanted her son to come back to the UK. She had two. One was in his 20s and one was 11. She wanted him to come back to be with the matriarchal family. Yeah. And so, you know, we did the whole thing about you do for change. You know, we consulted, we planned, we discussed, we reflected, blah, blah, blah. And we took him into my family. My family took him in. And it was the hardest thing, I think. You think it's going to be simple, but it's not, because you don't know him. Yeah. You know, I haven't seen him really for years. He was very upset, and it was really difficult, and it put a huge strain on the family, trying to help him to integrate, because he was just so silent, you know. Yeah. You know, he's now 27. He's getting married on September the 7th, and I still haven't sorted my outfit out. But, you know, no pressure there. And he's, you know, he's an artist like his mother was, and he's making a living as an artist. And he's marrying an artist, and he's a beautiful boy, you know, man. And I love him dearly, and he's like my son now, you know. Yeah. So I take my hat off to people who go out there and foster children on a regular basis and bring them into their family, and, you know, deal with all of that, because it is the hardest thing in the world. Yeah. And I feel that that's another thing that I've done that has been, you know, so worthwhile and such an accomplishment personally, and took a real journey, you know, a real journey. My sister was very silent as well, so he followed in her footsteps. So I was quite used to that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what a wonderful gift to be able to give him your family environment and all that support. I mean, that must be, you know, life-changing on positive levels, as well as, you know, it was, despite how hard it would have been. Yeah. It was life-changing. It was life-changing for us all, really. And then, you know, in the background, you're still working and you're still doing all of that, and you know, all that sort of thing. So it was quite difficult. So do you think, because running through both of those examples, I feel like I hear that you're very much a doer, but that you have an enormous amount of empathy. You have like a natural instinct to get how people are feeling and respond to them. And so is that right? And do you think that might be some of why you've been so successful on both of those fronts? I think it is. I think the mastery and leadership has something to do with that, because learning to, when you're doing the mastery, you know, you're on the stage effectively, and whoever's leading the mastery, they see you, and you can't understand how they see you, you know, because you think. We all think that we've got this mask, don't we? And, you know, the hat that we put on, I've got my work hat on, I've got my play hat on, or whatever it is. And that people can't see what's going on inside. But, you know, people could see. And I was standing there, and they were saying, oh, you know, what about this? And I'm going, how can they see that? You know? and I think, having gone through leadership, where you learn about doing running the mastery, not that I ever intended to lead it, but you learn about it, really opened my mind in a lot of ways. I had to go into therapy for a year whilst I was doing it, because it brings up all sorts of stuff. You know, it's very, very powerful piece of work. And I do feel that since then, so I was chair of governors for a school. I used to go in to see the headmistress, and she'd say to me, such and such, and I'd say, oh, yeah, I know that, I can see that. And what about this? And she'd go, how do you know that? I said, well, I just do. Yeah. And so I think it did teach me, well, not teach me, but probably helped me to improve those skills. Where else they come from, I don't know. Maybe it's just present in me. I don't know. I think therapy as well is a really important thing to do when you need help. And I've done it a couple of times. I've lost both my sisters. So when I lost my second sister, I went into therapy, and it was when I was going through a lot of bullying at work as well. So it was really, really helpful in that, you know. And I would exhort anybody if they've got an issue or a problem to do that. I'm thinking about doing it at the moment because I've just been through a huge amount of change, and I've realised I haven't come to terms with some of the things that I've done. So I need to kind of, you know, talk to somebody about it, you know, because otherwise you can't. You get stuck. Festers. You get stuck, and I'm a bit stuck. So I would recommend it. And of course, Mentors Women is not therapy. Mentors Women is mentoring. So if you come to us looking for therapy, we send you away.
Exactly. But they complement each other well, I'm sure.
They do, absolutely.
So tell me, tell us a bit more about Mentors for Women and what you hope to achieve with that. It's grown a bit like Topsy, really. When I first started thinking about it, when I retired, I went off and travelled the world for 6 months and talked to women around the world, which was really interesting. I definitely it needs to be in Australia. Well, it's already worldwide, so it is that anyway. And I came back and I was sort of thinking, well, you know, how am I going to do this? Blah, blah, blah. So it starts off, you know, it's got to make money because you've got to pay to run it. So it's a subscription-based service, and you pay an amount. It's £120 a year, but actually it's on offer at the moment for £60. And then you can go in and you can find a mentor, and there are over 30 mentors, and they are worldwide, not everywhere in the world, but we have got them spread across the world a bit. And we've got a doctor, we've got the musician, we've got artists, we've got business people, all sorts of different strings to our bow. And you can choose 3 to have an initial 15-minute conversation with, to see whether or not you think that they will be a fit for you. And then when you've decided, you choose the one you want, and then you pay for 3 sessions. Now, the conversations we've had about all of this stuff have been very far-reaching. So, there's a lot of thought gone into everything that we've done. So we've got 4 levels of mentors. So we've got, the CIO level, which is £400 an hour. And then we've got the basic level, which is £80 an hour. And the mentors are put on the level that they are according to our scale of, their experience and so on and so forth. So a CIO person is somebody who will have worked in mentoring and towards mentoring in all sorts of ways, for years, really. And an £80 person is going to be somebody who's setting out on their journey, who's done some mentoring, maybe informal mentoring or whatever. We have mentoring contracts. We've got all the stuff that you need to know. We've got a basic training that everybody can do for free who's a member, and, what is mentoring and the theory and all that sort of thing. And there's a little test at the end of it, which the mentors have to pass. Well, they have to pass very well. They can't just pass. Yeah, exactly.
And so you choose your mentor, and then you pay for 3 sessions. And again, we've settled for 3 because we don't want it to be too onerous, on somebody. And they can come back for 3 more afterwards, or as many as they want afterwards. But, that's the starting point. When we offer it to organisations as well. So really what we want to do is we want organisations to, give us a group of people, some who will be mentors and some who will be mentees, who will go onto our books. And then that will free their people up to find mentors from other organisations or different walks of work. Because I think one of the other things about it is it's the whole thing about confidentiality. I know when I've spoken to people in my career, and, you think you're having a confidential conversation even. And you're not, you know, because the next thing somebody else says something to you and you think, really? Where'd you get that from? You know?
Yeah.
So, sometimes you need a mentor to talk about the stuff that's happening around you that you can't manage. And, you know, you don't want that to be out there with everybody.
Yeah.
So confidentiality is really important to us. But it kind of grew because I was on my bicycle during lockdown because the roads were clear.
Yeah. Nice time to be on a bicycle.
And I was thinking, it was a really good friend of mine, probably the only person that I knew really well in the town that I used to live in, who I'd met when I first went there. And she ran a childminding, an after school club. So my son used to go to that. And she got me to become a governor at school and all that sort of thing. You know, she could see I'd be worth having, so she's pointing me in the direction all the time. Anyway, she'd written a couple of poems during lockdown. She'd sent them to me, and they were hilarious. You know, they were just so funny. There's one about doing the shuffle around Lidl. You know, when you've got beef 6 meters apart or whatever, and you're crashing into somebody coming around the corner and all the rest of it. They're just really funny. And one about the Queen's speech. And I was just thinking, what a shame, you know, that nobody gets to see this stuff. And all the people who are artists out there, and, you know, having had two artists, both my sisters were artists, you know, in the family, and the difficulties and the struggle and everything else, you know, we should, people who are members, if they're doing that sort of stuff, we should have an arts corner. We can put that stuff up. So we've got an arts corner, and we've got people stuff up. And then, you know, sharing stories is another thing, you know. So really, I want it to be a community. I want women to join. I want, you know, if they join them with their organisation to start with, I'd really like them to say next year, well, I'm going to join myself because I want to be part of this. I want people to, you know, to contribute their stories to whether it be a short story about something that happened to them last week or their life story. I've written mine. My son edited it down from 30 pages to 3. And, you know, nobody will read all that, Mum. That's the book, Mum.
Yeah, exactly. That's the book. But that's a book.
So, you know, but it just gives you a flavour of who I am and where I've come from, and, you know, and all that sort of thing. And you know, I think there's, you know, we've also got blogs. So when I travelled, I blogged, and I talked about lots of things when I was travelling. I mean, I had an amazing time. The first time, I mean, nobody would. I would never have believed I would go away for 6 months on my own and travel around the world. You know, there's just no way. But for the first time in my life, I was free, and I didn't have to worry about anybody else, apart from when they ring me up and say, "Oh, Mum, I need you help sort this out." The other side of the world. But, you know, that was fine. I could manage that bit. So that was just amazing. And so I was writing the whole time I was doing that. And it makes me realise I need to do more of that. You get so tied up with all the other stuff you do. So we've got, you know, that's all there. And we've got guest blog space so that if people want to do a blog for a few weeks, they can do a blog. And if they've got something that they're working on that they want to share, you know, all that sort of thing. So it really is about building a community and trying to get women to help each other in whatever way, shape or form. And, you know, we will have events, or we do training as well, of course. So we've got basic training, but then we've got paid for training for our mentors. You know, which is all, what's the word? When you're actually doing it, rather, it's not chalk and talk. It's all about doing it. So even though it's online, you're practicing the whole time. And that's, you know, very, very valuable. So,
So I think it's so important. And I think doing something where it feels like people can be themselves, express their creativity in lots of different ways, and collaborate, not compete, is just so there's too much competition out there. There's too much, well, I've got to, you know, show everybody what I can do. And I was having a conversation with a friend just this morning about how do you get the message out there further? And it's like, you can't do all this stuff on your own. You need other people that you can do it with.
Yeah.
You need partnerships, you need collaborations, and that's what women are good at doing,
Yes.
when they can let go of their egos or
yes.
do that.
Yes, but I think the point about having an organisation that is free of, there's no hierarchy here. We are all in it together, and and we have ethics. So we have a code of ethics, and in that is do unto others as you would want to be done to yourself. You treat people with the respect you expect to be treated with. Because and credit where credit's due. So there's none of this, oh, somebody's got an idea, I'll use that. You'll see in on one of the pages that I actually credit people who've had ideas that we have used, and that will be something that we will do, because it's something that women struggle with a lot. You have an idea, you tell your boss, and the next thing you know,
that's that the worst experience ever is when you're in a meeting and you come up with an idea and you say it, and then your boss repeats it back to you in a slightly different way and claims it as their own. Oh my goodness, it's like one of the most disempowering experiences on earth.
Absolutely dreadful. Just I think when I left work, and I left work in a bit of a hissy fit, and I was a bit silly really. I spent a year in Scotland, the last year of my career, and it was great. A shit job, but it was great, and I had a good time. And I just loved. I was working in Edinburgh, and I just loved it. And I mentioned on Icelandic, I was born in Iceland. It reminded me a lot of Reykjavik, because the mountains are on the side and all that sort of thing. So I kind of felt a bit like I was home. And I would really like to have. There was an opportunity for me to take a new role, and I went for the interview. And I'm being interviewed by people who are half my age.
Yeah.
And they're saying, "Oh, you've done that. Oh, you did that. Oh." It's like, oh, well, that's amazing. Oh yeah, I can definitely see you'd fit in this role, and then to hear nothing for a week, because I know what had happened. It had been stonewalled for a reason that I know. It was all to do with stuff that happened in the previous contract I was on, and in the end, I just resigned. But it took him 3 weeks to come back to me to tell me I didn't have enough financial experience to do this job. And I'd been running multi-million-pound contracts. So, I should have just gone home and gone on the bench. I would have had to pay me. I didn't do that.
Sometimes in the moment, it's quite hard to do those things, isn't it? So, what would your just to sort of wrap up the conversation? What would be your one bit of advice that you would give to women out there who are feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all their responsibilities, all the hats they wear, etc.? What would your words of wisdom be?
I think there are a number of things on there. One would be to trust yourself, because I think we know within ourselves what we're capable of and what we can do, and not to lose faith. It's really hard to suddenly think, I just can't do this anymore. I do it all the time. When I was running big things, I'd go to bed at night thinking, I can't do this. New job in the morning, because you're always moving on to something new. So trust yourself and let the good words land. Listen, let the good words land. Find a mentor. Join the Mentors for Women, or find a mentor within your own organisation, somebody that you can have a constructive conversation with if you're stuck. You don't need it all the time. But I think we need mentors for different times of our lives. Retiring is quite a difficult thing, believe it or not. Suddenly, you don't have all that stuff outside, anymore. So it can be a really difficult time for people. going back to work after a baby, having a baby, all of those things. And I always say this to my boys a lot, and it's something I believe in a lot, and that is, it's okay to be an I don't know. Sometimes we just don't know what to do, you know, and it's okay to be an I don't know. But I was having this conversation with Eric the other day, and he said, yeah, the problem is, though, I do that, and then because I'm in I don't know, I think I can just carry on being in I don't know, and I don't make any decisions. I said, yeah, but you have to know that you've got to make a decision. The decision will come to you. You know, don't just languish there just because you're allowed to.
Yes, I guess it then becomes I don't know yet.
I don't know yet. It's all right to be an I don't know yet. It's like this room. I don't know what I'm going to do with this room. You know I don't want that colour behind me much longer, but you know, I don't know at the moment. So until I know, it's okay to live with that colour.
Yeah, and you'll know when you know.
I'll know when I know. Yeah. Everybody keeps giving me lots of ideas, and I keep saying, yeah, I'll know when I know. I don't need your ideas.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. So how can people find you? Obviously I'll put in the notes links and things as well, but what's the best way for them to get in touch with you and with Mentors for Women?
Well, mentorswomen.com is there, so you can reach us from the website. There's telephone numbers on there. It goes to an answer phone, and we pick that up quite quickly. Diane.Faben at mentorswomen.com, very easy. It's long, I know, but very easy. There's also, you know, links to Sam, who's our training director on there, who's also a mastery leader, to give you an idea of her credentials. And she's been doing training in mentoring for years. You know, there's lots of information on there. So, you know, just get in touch with us, and we'll talk to you about whatever it is. And if you want to join up, you just click on the join me thing. There's a little thing where you can click on to join me. There's lots of links everywhere to do that. It'll take you to the screen. Just go in, fill your details in, pay your money, and then you're in. And then you can start looking for a mentor. When you go to look for there's a screen you have to fill in about yourself, and then when you go to look for the mentors, they all come up. You can choose by area or by location or by the type of person, the area that they work in, or if you know somebody, you can choose look for their name, and that you get a précis of their CV sort of thing. So you get some bits and pieces about them, and it should give you an idea about who they are, because we're quite for us it's really important that they give a little bit about who they are in their thing, so that you can think, okay, she doesn't like heights, I don't like heights either, I can probably work with that sort of thing, you know. And the essence of you, I call it.
Exactly.
So, but, you know, we're here. If there are any problems, you just get in touch with us. We're a small team, but we're all, you know, massively into doing this. We're you know, we're just committed to it completely.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And, there's a lot going to be happening. We're going to be starting to announce all our mentors in the next few weeks, doing introductions to them on all social media platforms. I've had a 4-month holiday whilst I've been moving house, so I'm getting back to work now.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been incredible hearing your story of how you got to where you are, and even in retirement, you're like on a mission to do incredible good as well. So credit to you. I think it's amazing everything that you're doing, and I really appreciate your time today. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you, Claire. Enjoyed talking to you as well. And note, I just said thank you.
Love it.
Thanks ever so much, Claire.
Perfect.